Okay, everybody, it's Robbie here. Welcome back to Caveman Security. Today we're going to do another OWASP Top 10. This time we're going to talk about security misconfiguration. So if you're ready, let's go. So what is security misconfiguration? This is when a system is deployed with insecure default passwords or usernames, unnecessary services, debug features on, poor security settings. Okay, so just overall, not really tightened for security. Okay, so why does this happen? So usually people are wanting to deploy things fast, on a timeline. They just don't think about hardening. They forgot. Sometimes they just will have default credentials like as a backdoor to keep things quick and easy. When they were testing features, they left those things enabled. So unfortunately, just kind of forgetfulness or just like a lack of care of security, right? So here's some common examples. We have debug mode, default passwords. You can find the Swagger file. Usually you can find very verbose errors, meaning like you'll find a lot of information that you shouldn't. Open buckets if you're on a cloud. Admin panels, which is not good. And unnecessary services. So things that your regular user really shouldn't have. Okay, so debug mode. So developers love this because it shows stack traces, file paths, and it has code details. Attackers love it too. Why not? If it's easy for the developer, it's easy for the attacker. Okay, so here's kind of a good example of verbose messages. So bad. We have like error with the connection failed, the host with the name on it, and the username, which is admin. Very, very bad. But a good error message could be error, request failed. That's what we want. We want that to be shown when we have any sort of API requests. Okay, just keep that in mind when you're developing. Exposed documentation. Obviously, if you have access to the Swagger file, this is really useful because now you can know all the endpoints and you kind of know all the things and business logic of the application. Okay. Okay, again, the ancient password. Everyone knows it. Admin, password 123. These are things that developers leave out all the time, and especially even like on IoT devices. Like I hacked a Wi-Fi router, which the password was admin. Okay, so just think about that. Okay, real world impact. So of course this leads to account takeovers, data leaks, admin access, server-side request forgeries, cloud compromise, everything. So this is something that we don't want. Okay, so here's a good example of API in the wild. So we're going to go back to our next series. So this time there was a developer or a researcher called Albin Nalex, and he was able to find a exposed admin functionality through misconfiguration on Shopify. I think he got like $10,000, which is great, and the severity of that was high. So what happened? An external service was exposed due to configuration issues. So whatever developer at Shopify just didn't take enough care to show what happened. So the vulnerability allowed access to functionality that was never intended to the public. Okay, so guys, kind of look through these applications when you're doing bug bounty hunting. You're kind of just looking around. You'd be surprised what kind of functionality you'll find. Okay, so why attackers love misconfigurations? Again, we talked about earlier. It's an easy attack vector. There's no security controls. Things were forgotten. Things are running that really shouldn't be running. So remember, when you're developing or you're kind of running through your testing phases and production phases, make sure that you are getting rid of any unused or unnecessary information or ports or anything, right? So just think about that. Okay, so here's some good practices. Remove defaults, so kind of use more elaborate usernames and passwords. Disable debug mode, that should be a given. Obviously, you should hide the Swagger file. Hide stack traces, you don't want to deal with that. You want to patch your systems, make sure that whatever is outdated or whatever has not been done, fix it. And of course, review your configurations. I think it takes just a little bit of extra time to check before you move to production. I know businesses are all about time and metrics and speed and money, but I think it's going to cost you less money to take an extra couple days compared to having to have repair costs, right? So just think about that. Okay, so some key takeaways. So security configurations happen when security settings are forgotten, debug features remain enabled, sensitive functionality is exposed, systems are deployed insecurely. Okay, so guys, this is a very quick and easy overview. It's kind of a catch-all phrase, but it's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take you through a demo through actually the OWASP juice box. So let's go and take a look at that. All right, so guys, I decided to take you through the OWASP juice box, or juice shop, whatever you want to call it. I decided that this was a really good web application to kind of go through because, one, it does cover everything in the OWASP top 10. And, you know, you kind of can see how things are working. It's kind of gamified, so if you guys are looking for ways to see if you're making progress compared to, like, crappy API, this is a great one, okay? So I really like this. So in this section, we're going to try to find verbose error messaging. So if you saw my examples, some really long information, right? So let's go ahead and check that out. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to do like a test login just to kind of grab the network activity, right? So let's go through here. We're going to go through Kaido. We're going to go through our REST user login, okay? So we see here our username, our email, and password, okay? And it says invalid. All right, so what we want to do to kind of handle this ungraciously is we want to kind of almost perform a SQL injection, but without the SQL commands. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a space and we're going to add a single quote to break out of the parameters, right? That's all we're going to do. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic, just going to break out of parameters. So let's go ahead and send a request. All right, so look at this. Look at this verbose message. It's really huge. So it's giving us a lot of telling information, which is really bad. So this is great for an attacker, bad for a business. So we see that this is an SQLite error. So we know, okay, now we know what kind of database they're running. Okay, so now we're kind of looking at what kind of modules, what kind of libraries are running, right? This is pretty bad. This is also giving us some SQL commands. You know, we can look at the users and we can find email and we can look for those information. Again, we can look for the same thing in passwords. Looky here, it's running some password hashes. It's running the database queries. Not too good. So this is telling us so much information that we can sit there and say, okay, now I know I can create a SQL injection by adding these parameters, and I can find my way through this system, right? So this is a really good example of verbose errors, and this is really great to see because I think when we, you know, talk about it, it kind of makes sense, but in this case, when we see it in action, it's pretty telling, right? So don't be surprised if you run into this in the wild. I've seen this a few times just messing around, and it's very telling. So guys, hopefully you guys like this. I think it was a lot of fun kind of going through it and just kind of messing around Juicebox. I like Juice Shop a little bit because there's a lot of things to do and there's always a lot of challenges. So I'd encourage you to take a look at this and test it out for yourself. Okay guys, so that's it for this time. So hopefully you guys liked it, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.